So, a couple of quick things then. I'll just do this now, and then we can. So, I asked, thank you for coming on, and I'm sorry it's been such a disaster. And we're going to hopefully reschedule for perhaps October. But I ask the same questions to every guest, which is, first of all, in your academic career, who would you say is the most intelligent person that you've met or you've worked with?
My goodness, I think probably John Finnis is certainly among them. John Finnis is now retired, but he was Professor of Jurisprudence or Professor of the Philosophy of Law here in Oxford until a few years ago.
And what was it about him that was so strikingly intelligent?
Well, he in the 1980s he developed a very sophisticated account of what Catholics call natural law, and it's reckoned even by his critics to be one of the most sophisticated accounts of the basic elements of moral life. He described it in terms of there being a set of basic human goods, and moral action is action that protects or promotes human goods, and immoral action is what damages them. So his moral system is among the most sophisticated I've come across.
So it was the sophistication of the system he developed which made you think he was extremely smart.
Yes, and I mean he's a highly intelligent lawyer, so he's used to being very intellectually fastidious and careful and precise in the way that the best lawyers are. So I don't always agree with him, but I've been very impressed with him.
Okay, the second question I always ask is that if you were to have a dinner party, your ideal dinner party, your fantasy dinner party, and you could invite any 4 people, dead or alive, for a stimulating dinner party, whom would you invite?
Oh, right. Well, one I'd invite would be Alfred Milner, the late 19th century, early 20th century British imperialist, who I think is often maligned nowadays, but I think from having read about him during the period of the Second Anglo-Boer War in South Africa, I've come to admire him, and I'd love to talk to him about looking back at how he regards his role in precipitating the Anglo-Boer War of 1899 to 1902. That would be one. Who else would I invite? I'd probably invite. I've just finished reading Sir William Slim's classic military memoir, Defeat into Victory, which gives an account of his command of Allied troops in Burma and India during the Second World War, and among other things, it's remarkable for its modesty. The number of times although he spent the first 6 months of his command managing a 900-mile retreat, he had the resilience to suffer that, and then to organize a defense that broke the Japanese in India. But he's the number of times in his memoirs that he says, "I made a mistake. I made a mistake," is remarkable. I'd like to talk to him about what's involved in that kind of leadership and command. Who else would I invite?
What is it about someone making a mistake, or admitting to making a mistake rather, that kind of endears you to him as a dinner guest?
Yeah, because in the current climate, Edward, it seems to me that we are very unforgiving of people in public office who make mistakes. We when something goes wrong, someone gets up and declares, we're going to do something that will make sure this will never happen again. And I have to say I'm very cynical about that, because it seems to me that there's no such thing as never again. We can do our best to ensure something doesn't repeat itself, but human beings are human beings, and mistakes are made, and often honest mistakes are made. But in the current climate, it seems to me we are extremely unforgiving of other people's mistakes.
Mm.
And the way in which the media harry public figures who make mistakes, it does make me wonder sometimes who on earth would want to volunteer to take public office. So it's really refreshing to read someone at the very highest level of military command during the Second World War admitting 10, 15 years later he made a number of mistakes. It's just very refreshing. So I certainly have him on board. I guess the people that come to mind are the ones I've been reading about of late. I'd love to have Gertrude Bell. She was the intrepid lone female who ended up becoming an expert on the Middle East. Used to trot around the Middle East on camels all by herself. Endeared herself to particularly the local Iraqi Arabs. This was in the aftermath of the First World War. A remarkable woman who, in the end, committed suicide apparently. But she would be quite fascinating.
The brave eccentric attract.
Brave eccentric, but very brave eccentric. I go in for those. Intrepid, but also highly curious enough to learn Arabic, curious enough to go and move among Arabs as a single woman. Quite remarkable. So that's my third. Who would be my fourth? The novelist William Broderick, sometimes known as William Fairfax, as John Fairfax, who's still living. Written a series of novels about a barrister turned monk, Father Anselm. These are in effect detective novels. Broderick himself was in fact a monk who became a barrister, so Anselm is the reverse of him. But his Father Anselm detective stories are amongst the most humanly wise novels, modern novels I've read, and the series of books that he's written under the name John Fairfax about William Benson, a young barrister who becomes a barrister having spent several years in prison for murder. And again, the human wisdom in his writing is, I think, extraordinary. He's not particularly well known. He deserves to be much better known, but I'd love to have a chance to talk with him. So Broderick, Bell, Milner, and Slim.
Slim, you got your four. And then the last question I always ask is, if you could be dictator for a day and change policy in the UK, what single policy would you introduce?
Right.
What would you do?
What would I introduce? I'd probably introduce. I'd legislate to make littering a capital crime.
Well,
it's entirely unnecessary. It spoils everyone's enjoyment. It spoils public places, and we don't take it at all seriously. So I take it very seriously.
That's where the rot hits in with the little things, the incidental things. And it expands from there. Well, chaps, I don't know if you saw, any of you, the disastrous episode of The Jolly Heretic that occurred tonight, and I think it's something to do with the software I was using, a problem with StreamYard. So hopefully Nigel and I are going to reschedule, and we could. This is just a bad dream. This is just a nightmare, and it will be over with. So I'd like to thank Nigel for coming on, and hopefully we'll reschedule for the autumn. And I thank you for, and we will discuss the merits or otherwise of colonialism and of moral theology at that point. So thank you, Nigel. I'm sorry for this cock up, yeah, see you again.
I look forward to reconvening in the autumn and having a clearer conversation.
With less beeping and less echo. All right. Jolly good.